So we know Kubernetes runs our apps inside these things called pods. But have you ever stopped to think about what happens if one of those pods just, poof, disappears? Who's actually in charge of keeping the lights on?
It's a pretty simple idea when you think about it. If the pods are the workers on the factory floor, there's got to be a manager, right? Someone making sure the work actually gets done, even when a worker suddenly vanishes. Well, that's exactly what Kubernetes workloads are. They are the brains of the whole operation, the invisible force that makes sure your applications stay alive and healthy no matter what chaos is thrown their way. To really understand why workloads are so incredibly important, let's do a quick refresher on what we know about pods. This is fascinating, right? The official documentation literally calls pods disposable. They are not built to last. If a pod fails or the node it's on goes down, that specific pod is gone for good. Kubernetes doesn't even try to bring that particular one back. And that leads us to the fundamental challenge. How in the world can you build a rock-solid, reliable application on top of components that are designed to be temporary? The answer is, you need a system. You need a manager. And that is exactly the job of a Kubernetes workload. They are the high-level managers in charge of our entire army of disposable pods. So here's the big mental shift you have to make. You almost never create and manage individual pods yourself. Instead, you talk to a workload. You tell it what you want. Something like, hey, I need 3 identical copies of my web server running at all times. And the workload takes care of the rest. It handles the creation, the scaling, and replacing them if they fail. All right, let's start with the most common, the absolute workhorse of Kubernetes managers, the deployment. A deployment is perfect for what we call stateless apps. Apps where any one pod can be replaced by another without causing any problems. You'll often hear the analogy of cattle, not pets. You don't care about any individual cow, just the size of the herd. If one gets sick, you just get a new one. This is absolutely perfect for things like web servers or API backends. But here's where the real magic happens. Deployments can update your entire application to a new version with 0 downtime. Let's see how that actually works. Okay, check this out. We start with 3 pods running version 1 of our app. When we tell the deployment to update, it doesn't just nuke everything. No, it does this graceful little dance. It starts by creating 1 new pod with version 2. And only when that new pod is up and running does it terminate one of the old ones. It just keeps repeating this. New one up, old one down, until the whole application is updated. And your users, they never even noticed. So the deployment is the master strategist, right? It plans out the update. But who's the one on the ground actually making sure the pod count is always right? Well, there's another layer to this. Here's the secret. A deployment's job is the big picture, like managing that whole rolling update. But it delegates the moment-to-moment work of keeping the exact number of pods running to another resource called a ReplicaSet. The ReplicaSet is basically the heart of Kubernetes' self-healing power. It has one single-minded job: constantly watch and make sure that the number of pods running matches the number you asked for. If a pod dies, for any reason, the ReplicaSet immediately tells the control plane to spin up a new one. It's that simple and that powerful. Now, deployments are amazing for those stateless cattle apps. But what about applications that do care about their identity? Like a database? For that, we need a totally different kind of manager. And this brings us to StatefulSets. So, if a deployment manages cattle, a StatefulSet manages pets. Each pod it controls gets a unique, stable identity, a name that sticks with it, like DB0 or DB1. This is absolutely crucial for applications like databases, where you need a consistent network name and storage that's tied to one specific instance. So far, we've only talked about applications that are supposed to run forever. But not all work is like that, is it? What if you just need to run a task, like a database migration or some kind of batch process, and then be done? For that, you use a job. A job's goal isn't to run forever. Its goal is successful completion. It will spin up 1 or more pods, and if they fail, it'll just keep retrying until the task finishes successfully. Once it's done, it stops. Simple as that. And what if you want to run that job on a schedule? Say, every single night at 2 a.m.? Well, you just wrap it in a cron job. It's pretty much what it sounds like, the classic cron scheduler you know from Linux, but supercharged for the world of Kubernetes.
Okay, so we've looked at all these different managers. Deployments, stateful sets, jobs. Let's zoom out for a second and connect all of this back to the fundamental idea of how Kubernetes actually works. This right here, this is the core philosophy of Kubernetes. You don't give Kubernetes a list of commands to run. Instead, you just declare the state you want. You say, I want 3 replicas of this app, or I want this job to finish. And the workload controllers then work tirelessly, 24/7, to force the real world to match the world you described.
So let's just boil it all down to one sentence. Your application code runs in pods. But the real magic, the real power of Kubernetes comes from the workloads that automate the entire lifecycle of those pods, giving your app stability, scalability, and those amazing self-healing powers.
And here it is, the whole system at a glance. You've got deployments for your stateless apps, stateful sets for your pets like databases, jobs for tasks that just need to run once, and CronJobs to put those tasks on a schedule. Each one is a specialized manager, perfectly designed for a specific kind of work.
Okay, great. Our apps are now managed, they're self-healing, they're scalable. But they're still just running inside our cluster. How do we actually expose them to the outside world? How do all these pods even talk to each other? Well, that's the next huge piece of the puzzle, and we're going to dive right into it in our next explainer on Kubernetes services and networking.